All right. How about now? How about now? Anything? No? Anything? No? Maybe? Yes? No? Maybe? No? Hey, okay. There we go. It only took 4 attempts. There we go. Welcome, everyone, from Pax West. Yes, sound family. Yeah, the problem was that my microphones, or my lav mics, were set up for when I was recording the Deathbringer panel at Gen Con, which meant that the audio is being routed to 2 different sources, and apparently the YouTube app only reads from a single merged source. But, unfortunately, I'm being kicked out here, so hold on a sec. I'm gonna have to move.
Yeah, you too.
So I'm outside on the terrace of the Voodoo Ranger Open Air Bar. The hall just closed about 30 minutes ago, and yeah, it is still daylight over here. Yeah, it's 7:40, so closed the booth down. The exhibitor hall closed about 40 minutes ago. Came out here, had a beer, had a nice juicy, what's it called? Juicy Haze or whatever, nice hazy IPA, and now
Bye, thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
There we go. Another wonderful worker here at PAX, keeping us safe over here on the West Coast. The sun is in fact setting, and so yeah, part of the reason we're outside is for superior. Oh, we got a crazy guy over here. So, anyways, hopefully we don't lose too much. We don't lose too much signal here when I move inside. But it was a very nice signal outside. So, anyways, we're gonna move inside. So yeah, this is a really interesting convention. Very different than Gen Con. It's a lot more video game, a lot more cosplay, a lot more people taking photos, and a lot more, just even the way it's organized is very different. So in Gen Con, everything is very structured, and you have to sign up for events for everything. You have to get tickets for everything. Everything needs a ticket, and it's all sold out instantaneously. What's interesting about PAX is everybody doesn't really sign up for anything. You just kind of walk in, and there's a lot of standing in lines, is what I've gathered. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a thing. So it's kind of nice because you can kind of get into anything, but it also means that you kind of have to wait for everything. Now, of course, remember, I've been sitting in the exhibitor hall all day, so there's really not a whole lot, there's not really a whole lot that I've seen so much, but yeah, it's interesting. Now, to be clear, we are over here at the Summit building. So this is a completely separate building, part of the Seattle Convention Center complex. If you look over here, over there in the far distance, you can see the Seattle Convention Center Arch and Main Expo. That's where the real PAX is. That's where all the Nintendo and Larian Studios and all these other really, really expensive over-the-top booths are. So that's where the real convention is. Over here, this is everything else. So this is 5 floors of tabletop. We're here on level 3. So you can see, I don't know if that's going to be backwards or not. Probably is backwards, but this is there's arcade free play. People just playing arcade game. There's a ton of Dance Dance Revolution games, little hand games. We got mech games over here. It's a very interesting and very weird spot. But I've missed you guys. I've missed you. Hey, Roll for Combat. So Roll for Combat left me earlier this evening so that he could go get VIP access to go see the Acquisitions Incorporated show, the long-running Jerry Hoskins and Mike Kralik and others, run by Chris Perkins as the GM. And they're still here doing their longest-running live show. He got in, so here we have an Artemis Bridge Simulator. If you've ever done Artemis Bridge Simulator, it's over here.
Definitely gonna go.
It's a very cool. I mean, Seattle's a cool town. Pacific Northwest is definitely very nice. I like the digs over here. It's got a nice vibe. The West Coast is definitely nice. Pax West? Wait, what did I say? Oh, that is how I flip it. Okay. Well, if I said Pax East in my thing, I meant Pax West. I'm not sure. Anyways, Pax West. Pax East was earlier this year. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't know actually how to change anything once the stream starts, so if that's what it says, it's what it says. Oops. I'll change it afterwards. In any case, yeah, so a lot of people stopped by today. Not as much business as you might expect at Gen Con. It's definitely not a tabletop RPG, but what's interesting about PAX is, per capita, there is a ton of space here for people to play games. In fact, I would say that PAX is really more focused on giving people places to play games rather than it is about selling them stuff. A lot of focus on free play, open play. They had the whole basement of this place is just full of, and I'll definitely lose signal down there, so I can't really take you down there. But the whole basement of this place is just one big, massive open area for social deduction games, Dungeons and Dragons games. They have indie games on demand here. There are people, massive table set up for crokinole, a massive social deduction area, a huge area where they just have old consoles. Okay, so I did put east instead of west. I was being dyslexic, I guess. I'll fix it at some point. I don't know actually. I don't think I can fix it while I'm live, unfortunately. Maybe I can. Maybe this won't. Yeah, maybe this will yell at me. Hold on a second. It's not going to let me change it, but yeah, we are actually in PAX West. Sorry, PAX West. But let's see. I don't know. What's going on in your guys' neck of the woods? One thing that is interesting too is that when people come by the booth, there's a lot of questions from me and Mr. Stephen Glicker about, people come up, they'll pick up a book, they'll start flipping through it, and they'll be like, when we're like, looking at the pictures, and they'll be like, so what is this? And like, they don't, we're like, oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons. They're like, oh, like they do not, that's like at Gen Con, it's kind of everyone, you assume everyone knows what Dungeons and Dragons is. Maybe they don't know, most people know Pathfinder, but like, they definitely know Dungeons and Dragons, but not here, not necessarily. And there's been a lot of people that stopped by the booth had no clue what this was. They're like, is this a new system? And we're like, no. So it is a different vibe, to be sure. It's really interesting because I've never been to PAX. So I went to PAX East earlier this year. Now I'm at PAX West, and then I'm going to be going to PAX Unplugged later in the year, which apparently is very, very tabletop heavy influence. But again, still like PAX, there's no real sign up for event. It's all about sort of, emergent play, people just kind of sitting down to play. And I think that's really, really neat because it's very different than Gen Con, which has open gaming, but it's not really super supported, if you ask me. Like, for example, the open gaming area at Gen Con it's not even in the convention center. It's in a different hotel. It's in the JW Marriott up on level 3. So it's off-site. It's not, proportionally, it's not that big. They don't give you a ton of options. Down in the basement, they've got a whole area with old consoles. I'm talking they have a whole section that has just like endless endless switches set up with Smash Brothers, all with 4 taps for GameCube controllers. They've got a whole section with old Xboxes playing Halo, a Super Nintendo game set up, a Super Nintendo system set up with Mario Kart, and just like and they're all just set up for people to play. Now there's no tickets for these. You have to wait or find something to do. But with multiple buildings, 5 stories of each building, like it's usually something, if you're willing to be flexible, that it seems like there's something that you could get to do, which I think is really, really cool and very different than Gen Con. Dr. D. Hart got to spread some Dagger hype today, which is of course awesome, interesting. Excited for them to be running some Dagger Heart. I myself am getting excited about getting home so that I can finally get some Daggerheart stuff going. You know, Daggerheart launched and it was like, wow, cool. And then it was PAX Origins Gen Con PAX. You know, so it's been a whirlwind of basically like come back from a con, be home for a few weeks, go to another con, be home for a few weeks, go to another con. It'll be nice to be home for at least a little while before I have to go to another con. And Elia is doing some prep for a cyberpunk game. Other than that, not much. Yeah, cool. So what time is it over there? It's 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. It's weird. It's weird being on the West Coast because like I feel like the time is so much later than it is. Ugh. Anyways, also what'll be really weird is this is on Labor Day, and so the con runs through Monday. And normally cons end on Sunday. So tomorrow is not the last day, even though it's a Sunday. It's the third day, which again is very strange. You know, somebody said earlier, a real friend would have gotten me a ticket to Whole RPGs. Actually, I could have gone as well, but I told Steven, I said, you know, I just realized that I'd be going to a live play and having to sit and watch an actual play in person, and I definitely don't want to sit there and watch an actual play in person, especially not something that I could do at ×2 speed, for sure. Plus, I think they play 5e, so it's like a lot of things that I'm not interested in. Number one being just an actual play. So Lance says, I learned on the way home from Kaz's wedding that Labor Day is the same day in Canada too. Well, the plan is Labor Day is actually Kaz's wedding anniversary. But tomorrow, Sunday, he is supposed to come down to hang out at PAX for a day and come by and say hi and hopefully enjoy the con. And then hopefully afterwards, when the con closes, I'm going to hang out with him. Maybe we'll bird, you know, maybe we'll bird around the PAX con and maybe we'll get something to eat or something like that. But I'm hoping to get the chance to spend a good evening with my friend Kaz tomorrow. That'll be a lot of fun. Sinboss tries catching our streams at 4 p.m. West Coast time blows. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if I go, you know, the later I go, obviously the worse it is for my East Coast friends. But if I go late, it's usually better for the West Coast people, and we start to pick up Europe in the morning, which is cool. And obviously, as we go really late, like I'm talking 3, 4 a.m. Eastern time, we start getting into the morning over in. We start getting into the evening over in Australia and New Zealand. So that's a really cool time, which is cool. But it's obviously later. And also, we've been having a lot of problems back at home around midnight, between like midnight and 2 p.m. or midnight and 2 a.m. seems to be when Spectrum does all of their maintenance updates. And so we keep getting like real bad internet problems and dropouts between like midnight and 2 a.m. when we do our late night streams. But yeah, so it's not good. Now, Light Pink says just go for a 24-hour stream. Now, Light Pink, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it because I'm considering, because when I get home from this convention, I'll be home for about a week, a little less than a week, and then I'm off to Vegas. Now, this is a Vegas trip I planned before I lost my job, and so it's all paid for, the flight and stuff. But, you know, it's Vegas, and I like to usually have some spending money, and of course, I haven't had an actual job in several months, so I may be interested in doing some sort of crazy marathon stream to try to generate some extra incomes for Vegas. And I don't know if I can do a 24-hour stream. Maybe we'll find out together. So, anyways, yeah. But luckily, I haven't seen too much crazy news in the last 3 or 4 or 5 days. No new games have dropped that have really shaken up the radar too much. So hopefully it hasn't been too bad. We still have a backlog of games to go through, a lot of stuff to talk about Daggerheart, more stuff to talk about Pathfinder 2, the new book, countless other RPGs, small press stuff. I just don't know how we're going to fit it all in, but we'll try. That's true. Yeah, we did. Well, no, right. The first game officially is Monday, Cal. So we finally launched our Dragon Tide mega game. Signups are occurring this week. So Dragon Tide was an idea that I had last year to run a Dragonbane mega game. So this is similar to our Northern Reaches mega game, but it uses Dragonbane. It's a different world, different premise with some different rules and different rule sets, more in line with Dragonbane, sort of mirth and mayhem, low, kind of low complexity game. But it'll be really interesting. Now, unfortunately, when I had the idea last year, then everything went to shit, right? My house caught on fire, and I had PTSD and panic attacks, and my dad died, and so I lost my job. So I haven't really been able to work on it in, 8 months. So Bob really wanted to do it, and not for any other reason other than Bob wanted to do it, not like some sort of altruistic reason. Love you, Bob. So Bob basically said, well, I'm going to take what we have. I'm going to finish it, some of the glaring holes. I'm going to put, patch them up. I understand we're not launching with what, your real, full, true vision was, but, Bob is of the mentality that, playing games is better than not playing games, and I don't think I can fault him for that. I think ultimately his wisdom there is the correct philosophy. And so, it's not the Dragon Tide that I wanted, in my vision, but the fact is we've got 7 or 8 GMs signed up. I've seen a bunch of new islands getting put up in the GM folders, and people are going to be playing games, and they're going to be playing Dragonbane in our world of Dragontide, And so while it may not be my exact vision of the game that I wanted, it's a game, and it's going to be cool, and I think we're going to learn a lot from it. And we've told people that, hey, this is kind of a beta season. It's kind of a season 0, and we're going to learn a lot from it. It's going to be kind of shortened in length, as opposed to like a full length 6, 8, 9, 10-month season. We're going to play for, something like 12 or 16 weeks or something, and, learn from it and adjust and make, hopefully, adjustments. And also, too, to be completely honest with you, one of the things is, now that I'm in a situation where I have to make a living from this channel, there's a conflict of interest for the very first time between me just literally doing whatever I want, and I don't give a shit about whether 5 people watch it or not, and me trying to do stuff that is going to, attract viewers, attract patrons, grow the channel. And one of the real talks that Bob actually brought this up, not me, Bob brought this up. He said, also, I don't know if you really want to spend a bunch of time on Dragonbane and Dragontide, if that isn't really going to get more than, say, 20 or 30 players who are already members of the Patreon. And that, while that's awesome, and I love giving, more games for my patrons to play, the fact is if it's 20 or 25 people that were already patrons, I could put a ton of work into it, and it's not actually going to increase my my monthly revenue. And, not to be cold-hearted about it, but, without my monthly revenue going up in some capacity, I'm going to have to change things up in some, in some way. Not anytime soon. I have enough of a runway that I can, make some bold choices, some experimental choices. But at the end of the day, I'm eventually going to have to, be profitable, or have to, quit streaming so much and go get a job again. And chances are probably pretty good that whatever job I get would not be as accommodating and as easy as my last job. So that would probably definitely affect my ability to interact with the patrons and stream as often as I do, and yada, yada, yada. So anyways, so some of it is just, let's see how many people are actually interested. If we get 30, 40, 50 people signed up for Dragontide, if we get new people joining because of Dragonbane and Dragontide, well, then maybe that is worth me putting time and trying to figure stuff out and try to develop stuff for it. Bob says, I'm running Dragontide on Monday night, launch day, and then BG3 on Wednesday. Yes, I heard, I saw a clip of Bob's BG3 game, but I have not actually caught the VODs yet. I know Bob is supposed to be recording his games, and we're eventually going to create a second YouTube channel, maybe called Game Nights or something like that. Nights of the last game, I don't know. And we're gonna just use that channel to post VODs of video games that say Bob and his brother, or Smith and Tim, Smith or Tim. If I start, for example, one of the big hypes here at PAX is Yoshi P is here, and we actually met a guy who got his signature and his autograph, and he has like a autograph book, which is really cool, and he got Yoshi P in there. And he was here just sharing stories, and he's here. But he's like the keynote speaker And there's a bunch of people here from Square Enix, and they're here to kind of hype up Final Fantasy 14, but they're really here to hype up Final Fantasy Tactics Remastered, which comes out at the end of September. And I would love to play that because Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my favorite games ever. And I only played it on the original PS1. I never played the remastered or the War of the Lion version. Not the remaster, but I think it was called War of the Lion. It was on PSP, maybe? I don't know. I didn't have PSP. And I think there was a Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, maybe, or something, for the Nintendo DS or GBA. I might have even, no, I don't think I ever owned that. So I haven't played Tactics since it was on the PS1. And my playthrough of Tactics was less than professional. So my final party consisted of like a very motley crew of people, including like Ramza, who was dual wielding just morning stars. They weren't even magical weapons. I think I just didn't even have enough magical weapons to give Ramza, the main character of the game, like good weapons. And so he just had like 2 morning stars. They were like high-end end game weapons, but they were like store-bought items. And he was like, I don't know what his job was, but he had the dual wield job skill from being a ninja. I know that. And so he dual wielded morning stars. Anyway. But I'd love to play that. But I don't want to put that on this main channel because I don't want to clog it up with video game stuff. So a second channel. Don't play with Bob. Do play with Bob. A lot of people are up to this. Jess, hey, what's up, Jess? Jess says, when I was last at PAXCon, not being able to sign up for anything in advance and needing to just stand in line, I hope you get in. Stressed me out too much to actually do anything. I can see that. It kind of has like a Disney World Cedar Point vibe where, you know, I was hearing stories, I would call them horror stories, of people who were over at the main convention center and they were waiting like 3 hours to get into the area to play Borderlands 4 demos. So, I mean, if that floats your boat, I guess, you know, more power to you, but it was not something that sounded like a way that I want to spend my con day. Is, you know, sitting there waiting to see if I can get into a game. Cal wants to know, how is what we have different from what you wanted? I mean, that's a very long question, Cal. You know, I don't want you to get, what I wanted doesn't necessarily reflect on what we have, but the mostly, Cal, what I wanted to have was a much more comprehensive solo game, playable in the Discord, with the town actions, and I wanted that to be much more robust and much more comprehensive than what we have, because I wanted it to legitimately be, I wanted to functionally rebuild the merchant, scholar, and artisan classes to make them into sort of town-focused classes that were designed for, we've had a lot of players, when I originally was talking about this, who basically said, I love the idea of playing in a mega game, I love the idea of playing in a community game, but I will never basically be ever able to play in a 3 to 5 hour sign-up traditional TTRPG game, even virtually online. What I will be able to do is, you know, pop onto the Discord and, you know, maybe chat with some folks or whatever. And traditionally, we've had downtime systems that kind of just do that, but usually the downtime system consists of either, you know, you spend your action and something happens. It's not much of a game there, you're just making a choice. Or maybe it's you make a skill check using your character in a channel. So it's no more complicated than make a skill check, pass or fail. There's not a lot of gameplay there. So I wanted to use bots, and I wanted to create a more comprehensive system for people who wanted to engage with the game, to be able to sort of have a solo play experience, GM-less, obviously, and be able to do it through their solo play, and so that people who knew that they wouldn't be able to play in a traditional Dragonbane game could make their PC and choose their profession based on sort of having more town actions. And that doesn't mean that they couldn't go on an adventure, it's just that that's not what their character is really well designed for. We've also seen, even with Northern Reaches Season 3, that there are people out there who, especially in these mega games, are very content with sort of being like, you know, the person who sits back in town and I don't know, you know, makes magic items for other people. So I wanted to kind of lean into that, and that is the part that, quite frankly, is very underdeveloped. I think the island stuff, because that's the most closest to Dragonbane, is pretty good. There were some elements of the ship voyage phase that I think I wanted to tweak a little bit. Bob did a pretty good job of finishing that out. It's mostly what Bob and I originally had discussed. So that part's pretty good. Not perfect, but good. We'll see how it rolls. We'll see how it runs out. There was a lot of debate about whether we should have that sea voyage phase at all. Yeah. So. Correct, Elia. They are recorded on Twitch, but we know that because we're not a partner, they only stick up for like a week. So I've had Bob actually record the games via OBS, and now we'll be able to put them up on our YouTube channel. Yeah, the town action stuff. All right, nighty night, Bob. Jess says, regarding the Disneyland vibes, yeah, I can manage waiting in line for stuff at Disneyland because I can prep in advance, learn the rides, and plan my day even if I don't have a reservation. Right. So yeah, even Disneyland, right? You can get the fast pass, or you can log. You can say, hey, you get a badge, and you can ride you get priority to ride this ride between 6 p.m. and 6:15 p.m. and you can plan your day around that. So even that's better. This is kind of the Wild West. I think the idea here is that you're supposed to remain flexible and just sort of bounce around and do whatever's open, but obviously that's not necessarily everybody's vibe. There's a lot of little things about that. Like, for example, there's no planned events, and the badges, they don't have your name on them. So like a lot of things here are very like genericized, if that makes any sense. I know, Panic. I put the wrong cardinal direction. But what's up? Yeah, we had a lot of people stop by who are fans of the show, fans of Roll for Combat, fans of Knights of Last Call. That was really fun. I met up with a couple patrons. They didn't we didn't go out for a drink or anything like that. I was working the booth, but they stopped by. We got to hang out and chat. That was really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to a good time at PAX Unplugged. I think PAX Unplugged for me is going to be a bit more like Gen Con was, where I'm going to be, helping out Roll for Combat, but I'm mostly going to be sort of on my own, doing my own thing, and that's pretty cool for me. Let's see here. The lack of badge names. I kept wanting to introduce myself to people and couldn't because what if I was wrong about who they were in the badge and say, hey, look at that. It's the man, the myth, the legend.
Hello.
There's Stephen Glicker. What's up, Steve?
Hey, I got bored and I'm hungry.
You're
And I found you.
Yes. Now that's real coordination there.
I tracked you with the iPad.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, find my iPad.
Oh, that's awesome. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but I said, how did you find me? I did some real detective work. He goes, I used Find My iPad because I'm carrying around the cash register, right? The iPad that we use for the sign out from Shopify. And he used his Find My iPad to track me down.
Because you stole it.
Because I did steal it. Right, it's real life stream sniping.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Jess, we have almost gone nowhere. We have only stayed within about 2 or 3 blocks of the entire convention center. So everything we have eaten, we have gotten within just 2 or 3 blocks because by the time we leave here, it's late and we're hungry. And then when we're done with that, it's we don't have a car, obviously, or anything like that. So we kind of just walk away. That being said, a separate local Seattle person did recommend the sushi or the Japanese place the Japanese grocery store that you recommended. The tiki bar is like a 4 or 5 minute walk.
I'm hungry.
Now you're hungry. All right. Well, to be honest with you, I'm starving too. So this stream may have to wrap up.
You bring me on or not?
Yeah, that should work. Clip that on there. You should be good.
Hello. Hello. I see you.
Yeah, you guys can hear Steven. All right. So, anyways, you got bored of Acquisitions Inc., huh?
Yeah.
I told you this actual play business is not for me.
Well, also they're not that funny.
Oh, shots fired.
They're fine. They're fine. They're not as quick as I don't know. I see a lot of actual plays, and I mean, I think Glass Cannon, quite frankly, they're much faster.
So I have watched, I've watched Glass Cannon and I've watched Critical Role, and I will definitely say I think Glass Cannon is way better.
No, Glass Cannon is quick, and they're funny.
Yes.
And they're just, they have a good chemistry.
Yeah.
And this was like, I feel like it's, they're fine, but it's like, they're a little slower on the uptake.
Yeah,
and,
I just feel
and it's a small difference.
Yes,
it's a
exactly.
Small difference.
And I just feel like, the Critical Role people, I feel like a lot of people are kind of like, they're laughing because it's supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily.
Well, this isn't Critical Role. This is
I
Acquisitions.
know,
yeah.
but I'm just saying like that. A lot of other actual play groups.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I think they kind of tried to.
No, I mean, Glass Cannon was my favorite, except for mine.
you know, they're doing Shadow Dart now.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
I didn't hear that. That's an inside joke. But yeah, no, they were my favorite from the beginning. I listened to their podcast for years, and
What do you think of the Knights of Last Call actual plays?
I watched them too. I like you guys. You guys are funny. I mean, Bob and Smith are great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, I mean we've had people on our show that obviously have a higher level of engagement and charisma. Some people I think get intimidated by the cameras.
I have to say,
Smith
though,
and Bob do not.
they do not. And when I mean, Bob is just funny because Bob is just Mr. He has no idea what's going on.
Correct.
So it's just fun to watch him fumble.
Oh, yeah.
And but Smith, when Smith is on, oh my God, he is
Right.
He is on. He is so funny.
Correct. And I think he could go pound for pound with anybody.
Oh, it's like he can go up against any of these guys.
Oh, correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
When he's on.
When he's on.
It's funny that you said that. Bob just left to go to bed, but he's been playing Baldur's Gate 3.
I heard,
on
yeah.
Wednesdays with his brother, and already the clips are flowing in because. Bob, there'll be a clip of Bob accidentally fireballing, because they're playing on tactical mode. And Bob will accidentally fireball his brother, and he's like, what's going on? He's just completely clueless.
It's very funny.
Do you know the story of the lake and the bow?
What do you mean?
So we were playing through Quest for the Frozen Flame, and Bob was a ranger. And we're
Okay.
playing on Foundry VTT
Okay.
because we wanted to play live or via Foundry to make it easy for people. And also one of our players, Kaz, lives here in Seattle. So obviously we need to make it remote. So we just did the whole thing on Foundry VTT. So they're going through it. They're level 2, I think. And they're nearing the end of the adventure. And they're in this underground cave lake. And I don't even remember what the monsters were. Some sort of lake monsters or whatever like that. And they get attacked. And they're fighting in this water. And the water is like shallow, but it's also deep in parts. And Bob's Ranger's on the other side of the thing. And they're like, Bob, would you please do something? He goes, I can't. And we're like, why? He's like, guys, you guys are like 580 feet away. And they're like, what? And he's like, Bob's like, look, I'm looking at the range. It's 580 feet. And like, everyone's like, what are you talking about, Bob? You're like 70 feet away. You have a longbow. He goes, look, 500 feet. We go, Bob, that's the movement ruler. You're dragging it through very difficult terrain.
No. And he's like around the lake?
No, he's
it's
dragging
through
it
the
across,
lake.
but it's going through all the
difficult terrain.
So it's counting every 5-foot square is like 25 feet.
Right.
Instead of a bow shot, which is just 20,
Right,
which is just 70 feet.
Right.
And he's like, oh. And we're like, why weren't you shooting? And it was just like, again, he just. And the funny thing is, Bob's like, we got to play on Foundry. It'll make it easier for me. And I'm like no.
Well, whenever I see Bob at Origins, he is. But he's only been playing for a few years, though.
He started playing it when you saw
Right.
Bob's very first session
Oh, right.
on Knights of Last Call.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, but it is funny because he is so new, and he's playing with you guys.
Correct.
And
that's what I think.
He tries and he wants to.
Yeah.
But you guys are playing on the deep end.
Right.
And he's like trying to keep up.
Well, and I think a lot of people even originally said when we first started that like.
But it's not mean. He's he's having fun.
No,
It's-
well, that's why Bob's so great.
Yeah.
Because Bob can be, we can all take a joke.
Yeah.
That's what it really is, and Bob's really, really good at that.
Yeah.
But like when you look at your group, you guys are all dyed in the wool
Oh,
vets.
yeah. I mean, these guys, they've been playing since the 70s.
Correct. So we always had that really nice juxtaposition of people who really knew what they were doing and people who didn't know what they were doing, and I always thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah. Now we don't have. I mean, like in my other game, my biggest newbie was Lauren, and she started 20 years ago. And that's the newbie. So-
Although, I pointed out, I was telling to Bob, I said, Bob, you're not the newbie anymore. You've been playing for 5 years.
Yeah.
You've played.
Yeah.
You started off. You never played a single system.
Yeah.
Now you've played 2D20. You've played
Yeah.
PBTA. You've played,
He's
all these
played a
different
lot.
systems. So now you're actually, you've actually played quite a bit. And I think it's kind of cool for people. We bring Bob on every, 6 months or 7 months, and we kind of do like a Bob. Gaming
I watched
Yeah,
those
like a Bob
all the
gaming
time.
update,
Those are
and so that's
funny.
always really fun to do. So yeah, it'll be interesting because, in my personal opinion, the 3 guys that I have coming on to do my Daggerheart game. So number 1, we're only doing 3 people. And I know that's kind of controversial, but number one, I secretly love playing with 3 people.
The 3 amigos.
Well, I think it's fun because I think 2 people is just, quite frankly, not enough. There's not enough to bounce off of. I think you need 3. 3 points makes a stable object, but it just gives more people more spotlight time, and you get to learn those games.
Yeah.
But it's Tim, Smith, and Bob.
Oh.
And for me, those are like my 3 guys that Kaz is very good, but obviously he lives here in Seattle. But those are like the guys that I think are just like the sharpest and the funniest and the wittiest. My friend George is really, really good too, but he's a bit of a chaotic nomad. He can be a little bit random. And actually, he's going to be producing for us. So he's going to be sitting behind the camera. Because it's funny, I said, I need someone who's technical and knows the game. And George kind of fills both of those seats.
There you
go. Railman says, good for Bob for playing other systems. Yeah, well, Bob was going through a time there where he was like trying to up his body count, as fast as he could. He was basically just like
trying to try every system.
Yeah, he was trying to try every system and just get them done. So.
Bob is actually very good at board games, because when we played, did he play Oath with us? Yeah, he played Oath with us. But that epic,
the Root game.
The Root game. Oh, that Root game.
Yeah,
it's like legendary. That
was
Root
a fantastic.
Game. I know.
It's one of the best Root games of all time. We've had good Oath games. We have good Root games. I mean, an incredible Arcs game.
Oh well, the Arcs game, that was like. I wish I recorded that.
I know.
That thing was insane.
I mean, I'm not even joking you when I say this is what I love about those games. Yeah, Lance says, I'll be shit posting behind the camera instead of in chat. Well, we joked about how we want to make sure he has a microphone so that he can say stuff to the audience that we don't hear. Like, oh, look at that. Just like almost like a behind the scenes commentary.
Well, like what you did at Gen Con.
Correct.
With the Paizo panel.
Yeah, right. Yes, at the Paizo panel. If you didn't see that, I recorded the Paizo panel for his channel when they did Starfinder 2, and they had Thirsty and Jenny.
Yeah.
On, and I just ended up picking up a microphone and sort of acting as like.
You were like, I'm not going to be on the show.
I'm not going to be on the show.
And next thing you know, it's you won't shut up.
I can't shut up. But yeah, I seriously think that if we had recorded that Arcs game, you could take it and like break it down, and you could seriously turn that into like an incredible, I don't know, TV show or movie or campaign or adventure, because it just had such incredible, and that's what I love about Oath, Arcs, and Root, is they're board games, and you just play them like board games, but if you take a step back and look at what happened in the game.
They were good, but that Arcs game was...
I mean, yeah, the Arcs game was on another level.
That was like, that was ridiculous, that Arcs game. Unfortunately, no one cares. But.
Jess confirming it is Jenny.
Yes. No, I know it's Jenny.
No, I know.
Jenny, I forget how to pronounce her last name, Jablinski or something.
Jablinski.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I don't know if Thirsty's last name is Thirsty.
Thirsty Hillman.
Hillman, okay. Thurston, though.
Thurston.
Yeah,
correct.
okay, great.
Yes, he goes by Thirsty.
Yeah, no, they were great. Like, they knew their
stuff.
stuff.
Well, Thirsty knows his stuff. Yeah.
Well, Jenny knew her stuff.
Well, no, but I meant Thirsty is like, he's like us. He's like hamming up, and he knows the camera.
Yeah,
he's a pro.
No, I mean, yeah, they were both I'm saying, they were both very good on the
fantastic.
They were both good on the show. I'm saying they knew their game design chops were
no. Well, no, yeah, both of those guys are pros.
I still can't pronounce it.
I know.
Jarvisky?
Jarvisky.
Jarbisky? I don't know. Sorry, Jenny.
Sorry.
No, but I mean, Starfinder 2 is kind of tilting me.
So good.
Because I did 12 hours of streaming on just the 6 classes. Maybe more than actually, now that I think about it. I think I did. No, because I did like 4 hours for 6 classes.
It's really good.
And I told myself I don't want to play any, tactical grid-based, very heavy, complex, multiple attack penalty, track your actions. But man, those fucking classes are so cool. Like, I can't believe I would actually be pumped to be a healer. And it's the same way I feel about Eldamon. Like, my favorite Eldamon is Ankrub, the life Eldamon, because healing and the way that Mark did healing in that system is so cool. I did sell the shit out of Eldamon though this afternoon.
Yes, you did.
We didn't sell any yesterday, but we sold.
We sold a couple today.
We sold like 3 or 4, maybe 5 today.
No, yeah, we sold quite a few actually. You missed it. One person.
We didn't sell it to the woman who developed her own Pokemon system.
I know.
Well,
I was kind of
she already
surprised
had her
about
own.
it.
Maybe
Yeah, I guess so. Well, no, you missed it when you were away. We had one person. She showed up, and she knew who we are, and she goes, "Oh, where's Eldamon?" And I go, "Right over here." And she picks up. She's like, "Okay," and then she just bought it right on the spot.
The easy sale.
Yeah, the easy sale.
Yeah, I would probably be like less than 10%. When someone comes up, if you said, this person's going to buy something, and then I'm wrong.
It was really tricky.
And then I'd be like, oh, this person's not buying anything. And they're like, I'll take the bundle.
Oh, I know. The
Yeah, they're
people
like-
like they're not going to buy anything. He's like, I'll take all 4 books.
I'll take
And we're
all
like,
4 books.
okay.
And it's
And then
just-
it's like, oh, and the Foundry module.
Yeah, and the Foundry mod. Give me the Foundry. But it just shows you, you can't judge. But I was telling
Very
them
tricky.
that one of the things that is very different about PAX is that at Gen Con, they may not play, but you can rest assured that people know what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, there was I'd say 40%, maybe. Well, not, those are the people who talk to us. I'd probably say a good 70% of the people who came up to the booth didn't even know what we were selling. Like they had no idea.
Now this is the most nice last call thing that you could possibly see. So in the middle of this live stream, Schultfix is like, Derek, please reset Northport. So this is because
Oh, I know.
my Forge server,
I know.
which I pay a shitload of money for,
Well, we're gonna set you up with the new one.
is terrible
Yeah.
and it's been crashing literally
know.
10 times a day.
I know.
And unless we go in there and reset it, it's been terrible.
Well, we'll set you up. I have a private server.
So-
Yeah, we're setting up our own. I'm using Foundry, and I was thinking about it because my guys wanted to go in, but I'm running it off my computer. But then I said to
Oh,
myself,
you're running it locally.
I was.
Well, because to be clear, right, your games used to be on Roll20,
Right.
and now you're moving them
To Foundry.
To Foundry.
And I was like, wait a second, I do this for a living, so I just asked my guys, and I don't have like a million servers, so I just asked my guys to set it up 2 weeks ago, and they did. So I have it running, and I was like, okay, and then I was talking to you, I'm like, I'll set you up too on a private server, and it's not shared either. That's the other problem, is that these are
Oh, right. I
these
mean,
are spun up and
they're
they're
spun up,
shared.
they're local,
like,
they're
yeah,
like
they're
EC2
terrible.
instances
They're
with like
terrible.
minimal memory, minimal
terrible.
support. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just,
now we'll put you on a beast. We'll put you on a private
hear
server.
that? A beast, a private server.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, that's all I have. I mean, well, because we have to support Fortune 500 companies, so these things have to be
The right.
super bulletproof.
Your SLAs are
Oh,
pretty.
Yeah,
are
no,
pretty
these things.
tight.
No, they need 100% uptime. Like not 99, not 99.9, not 99.999. They need 100%. So.
Yeah, Railman says, I have my Foundry server running on a dedicated computer at my friend's house in Nashville.
Yeah. No, I mean, you could do it. I can put it on one of my computers in my house, but we just want to learn how to do it, so we just did it on a Linux box just to test it out, and it took us all of like, I think it took us like 30 minutes to get it up and running. So.
All right, Schulf, Exakill, I'm resetting Northport.
Oh man, look at this thing. Ugh. You gotta turn it off and turn it back on again.
I'm literally, that's all.
Literally.
That is, I would literally have to turn it off and turn it back on again.
I bet
and by
you
the
that's
way,
a memory error.
I've been working with I've had a service ticket for like 5 days.
Yeah, well.
And then like they keep saying stuff and we keep doing it.
Well, because I could go into this all day. This is like all I do all day for my other job, so I'm not going to. Long story short is that they are not prepared to handle what
right,
you
we're back
guys
up.
are doing. So.
Correct. And they have basically even said more or less that they are not prepared to handle what
No,
we're
and they
doing.
can't. And they basically, yeah, but the point is that they took your money and they're still putting you on a crappy server. They
Right.
probably just put less load on it, but it still can't handle what you're trying to do. You need a dedicated full-time, 100% up, no spin down server. So no shared, nothing. So,
Right.
And that's easy. We'll set you up with that.
Well, the other thing that is, I'm not saying it's like,
And then you can just export the world and import it in, so it won't even take that long.
well, the other thing is like, they're like charging me for this, like for the ceiling.
No, I know.
Because theoretically, we could run 8 games simultaneously. Because
Mm-hmm.
I have 8 Foundry licenses on this server. Well, we never run 8. We run maybe like 3 or 4, 5.
Well, this would be, you could run 100 if you wanted,
Well,
because
that-
there'll be separate shards.
Well, yeah, that's hot fire. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So live from PAX, Derek is saving the raid. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, laughing at losses. They are using KLC to troubleshoot for them. Yeah. So again, it's annoying. All right, guys. Northport should be back up. So
Ugh.
let me know if it's not.
I'm hungry.
All right. Well, we're getting pretty hungry here, and now we've managed to fix the server. Shu says we have run 4 games in NR at once max. I mean, don't get me wrong, running 4 games is a lot, but I'm talking about for like normal people's mentality.
Nope.
Jess says, Derek, you'll never guess what this reminds me of. Running a Neverwinter Nights server. Every time I talk, every time I talk about anything Northern Reaches related, she goes, "This reminds me of when I ran Neverwinter Nights."
Well, Jess is just so cool.
I know. Sorry.
Jess, why are you always on this channel? Like, because that's what I can't believe.
Because Jess is like a super night owl.
I know, obviously, because that like your stream. Jess, what time do you go to bed? Because you were up at like 4 in the morning or something, or 5 in the morning when you were like getting ready to go here.
I was up at 4 in the morning.
I know, but what is she doing up?
Mind Blown says 100 games, Dagger Reaches will be amazing. Well, my hope, Mind Blown, is that once we can figure out a solution with roll for servers, that we can just put everything on one server.
Yeah.
And that means like the Northern Reaches games, the Dagger Tide games, the community games, the whatever games, we just put all in this one place.
Yeah,
So-
we're gonna shard it out, and each shard will take 2 gigs, and we just put whatever the server is. So if you need, we can get a server so if we get a server with 100 gigs, we can put 50 shards on it,
Yeah.
and you can run 50 games,
Well, yeah,
and that's it.
More than enough.
Yeah, more than enough. More
Yeah,
than enough.
so-
And they're all individual, so if one goes down, it doesn't affect the other
Well,
49.
that's the other problem that
Right.
we have, which is that when
It won't go down, but
when
if it
one of
went
our
down.
servers starts to lag, it starts to affect,
No,
it starts to
it won't,
cascade
it
and it
won't.
starts to affect other servers.
It won't.
She's been doing illustration work recently, and Derek starts streaming right at the right time to be on the background. So there you go. I am just background
She
noise.
didn't answer the question. I said, what time do you go to sleep?
You think she's going to answer that question? What time she goes to? Raymond says roll for servers.
Roll for servers.
It's
roll. It's time to
roll
roll
for
for
No. See, when
servers.
Oh, by the way, if you're watching this and you appreciate what Steven is trying to do for us, okay, he needs like 5 more people to do a late pledge for his Shadow
Yeah, I
Dark
know.
Bestiary Kickstarter to put it to an even
2,000
backers.
Yes.
So if you've considered it, if you think maybe there's a world where you're going to be running perhaps Shadow Deep sometime in the future when we ever finish it, and you want to have some cool, awesome 3 books worth of Shadow Dark monsters straight out of the mind of some of the most devious people to walk the earth, and also Mark Seifter. Well, I wouldn't say he's devious.
He's no. He's not devious. He is he's
Calculating.
He's like a Borg.
Yes, right. It's a passionless.
It's passionless.
It's
That's right.
passionless.
He's just like the math. The math must be cute.
So she says
resistance is futile.
She says her bedtime in Pokemon Sleep is set to 2:15 a.m.
I don't even know what that is.
Pokemon Sleep. She introduced it to me in Gen
Oh, I
Con.
know what Pokemon Sleep is,
Yeah.
but I don't know how it works. I've never used it.
Elia also says that Neverwinter Nights was great. Lots of drama coming out from there.
Post the link for the RFC. You type it.
Shadow Zoo.
Shadowzoo.com.
Shadowzoo.com. Shadowzoo.com.
Yeah,
So,
Shadowzoo.com. It's easy.
Yeah.
and then you'll find it.
But we're
still doing late pledges.
Late pledges. You can get in the whole thing. And again, it's a
Yeah.
very simple Kickstarter. It was just the 3 books,
It's
basically,
3
I think,
books,
and there was a
basically.
collector's version. But
Yeah, just like I mean, you can get them as PDFs. You get them as hardcover. I mean, you can buy 1 book, but almost no one bought 1.
Okay.
I mean, might as well just get all 3.
Yeah.
It's a really good savings too. So.
all right, looks like the server is back up. They're all back in the raid. Okay, I'm gonna go get dinner, but if does something
Yeah,
crash,
I'm
I'll
hungry.
try to be on and we'll try to fix some stuff up. So, well, thanks everybody for hanging out with me for an hour here from PAX, not East. I wrote PAX
I
East
saw
in the
that.
title.
I
PAX
saw
West.
that.
I'll change it after
PAX
the server.
West.
PAX West.
We know, you know what? I think there's still one more. I think there's PAX South.
Yeah, PAX South.
We have to go to that one.
Is there
And
really a
then-
PAX South?
I think there is. And I think there's like a PAX Australia or something.
No.
Yes. We have to go to all the PAXs.
We're not going to.
We're not going to all the PAXs.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on Nights of Last Call. Bye, everybody.
Peace.